Hey, Lisa, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. You are dressed for success today.
Right.
I think this is brilliant. The audience is going to find out in a minute why I just said that. Welcome, everyone. Christiana, it's good to see you. Thanks for that message on DMs today. Jen, always good to have you. Yeah. And Breton's phone, I know you've been with us before, so I'm glad you're with us again. We like to give people, as you know, Lisa, we like to give people a chance to come on. And Shannon's asking you to let us know where you're calling in from. Yeah, Lehigh. Yep, Jen, Utah Valley. Hi there, Christiana. From the car today. In or out? Yeah. Lisa's from Salt Lake, right, Lisa? No, where are you from?
Sorry, I'm from Oregon. I'm just south of Portland in a town called Tigard.
Why do I think you're so close to us? Probably because you have become close to us, right? Yes, yes. So, Julia,
I
welcome.
was just in Tigard a couple months ago. My son lives in Hillsboro with his wife, and my aunt and uncle live in Tigard and Tualatin area.
Small world.
Yes,
Yes.
we enjoyed your mini wineries while we were there and stayed in a beautiful Airbnb in wine country. It was great.
Cool.
And also, you have a really strong fencing community, Northwest Fencing Center, to a camp there in Tiger, Lisa. And they're hard to beat. Those fencers are hard to beat. So lots of good athletic things going on in your area. Haley, welcome. Good to have you with us. I'm Lynn Christian, the founder of Soul Salt. One of the reasons that we do career reinvention is I have reinvented my personal and my working identity several times. I've lost count. Last time it's somewhere between 7 and 12. If you just wanted to look at just professional, it'd be closer to 7. So I know this inside and out, and it's one of the reasons why I started specializing in it as a coach when I was contacted by the current managing editor for Reuters. She had an office in Chicago and one in New York City, and her work really needed to transform. And she hired me because I spoke in Chicago, and I recognized that I had the knowledge and I had the skill and I had the background and I knew where the research was to assist people through this. So something we've been doing for a long time. So we're glad that you're joining us. It's one of our uh, gifts to society to do this for free and support people because it can be really frightening and it's uncharted territory and it's unique to you when you're trying to move from one career to another, sometimes changing from one industry to another. It can be quite daunting. So I'm glad you're with us today. I'm going to go ahead. We're recording this. And so if you have questions, put them in the chat. Shannon's going to be watching the chat. Shannon runs all things Soul Salt. That's why her name looks like Soul Salt there. And if you know anything about our company, you know Shannon is the front office, the face of, and often the personality behind many things that happen with our dear sweet clients. So there she is. Not everybody gets to see her. They just know her from phone calls. So our guest today is Lisa. Lisa originally joined us, and she was going to talk more to this point by coming on to these free webinars. And Lisa, you'll have to tell us when you get on here how you found out about us. What really impresses me with Lisa, as she's joined us over the years, is how patient she is and how consistent you've been, Lisa, with the reinvention application of modules and tools and strategies and things that we've given you to where you're really making your own reinvention journey. Lisa may not take time to tell you this, but she loves animals. She is really an expert in the area of soccer. And so that's why I was excited for how she's dressed today because she looks like a soccer pro today. Um, she's one of those people who wants to bring her best self to work. And some of you are on the call because you want to bring your best self to work. She's also somebody who wants to shine a light and be a positive in this world. And so we're just delighted that she's going to come talk to us about what is it really like in the trenches of the day-to-day of reinvention. Because a lot of the people that we bring on have reinvented, and you hear the where they were and now where they are, but you don't always get to hear the in between, and that's what Lisa's bringing in today. So, welcome, Lisa. Come on and share with us. Did I miss anything in your bio that you'd want me to have hit?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So, how did you initially find out about our reinvention that we call RX, our webinar series?
I think I saw a post on Facebook. That's what I'm remembering. And it just kind of drew me because it sounded like something that was intriguing. And if I'm not mistaken, you were doing a live session with someone,
Yes.
and it just like I thought, wow, that is really interesting, and maybe that's something I might be interested in doing. And it just kind of sparked something in me, and kind of maybe kind of want to do more. And when I found out there was weekly webinars, or excuse me, monthly webinars, I thought, oh, I might as well. I'm able to do that, so I'm going to. And so that was like almost 3 years ago, I think. So I just consistently got onto the webinars, watched, observed, listened, learned. And as I did that, I really felt a tug towards I really, reinvention sounded like something I might want to explore. And mainly, I've mentioned this to Lynn, but I don't dislike my job. I like the people I work with. I don't hate going into work, but I don't feel the same sort of what would you call it? Fulfillment, I guess. Yeah, I don't really feel that fulfilled by my job. I just feel like I go there, I do it, and I go home and I do other things that I like. And so the idea of reinvention came up, and I was like, well, wow, maybe I could actually do something that I feel more fulfilled in as an actual means of employment, or the way to get income. But it's kind of just exploring that concept. And so that's when, after several times watching the webinars and participating a little bit, and every time there's always an offer to do a discovery session, and I'd write in my notes, inquire about this discovery session. And like for about 4 or 5 months later, I finally decided to do it. And I'm really glad I did. And I started working with Lynn about, let's see, like it was like September of last year, I think. And so I've done a combination of directly having sessions with Lynn, as well as doing the online RX webinar. I don't know exactly what you call it, but and so that's kind of what I've been doing. And in addition to that, one of the things that, I also, when the book came out, so that was one of the reasons why I started wanting to do the discovery session. Was the book came out, I bought it, I read through it, and I attempted to do the work from the book. And I was finding that I was struggling answering the questions, or really knowing how to answer them without having any type of feedback. Like I didn't know if I was concerned about doing it right, or whether I was doing what I was supposed to be doing. And I felt very uncomfortable with it, and I just couldn't finish it. And so that's when I reached out and did the discovery session, and realized that I just need, for me, it's important to be able to talk things out with people and not just be in my own head. And I was just circling around, like I felt like I was circling around in my own head, trying to figure things out, and just didn't know how. Yeah. And so since then, though, working with the various tools that Lynn has introduced to me, one of which is the just learning about really honing in on my core values, really feeling addressing those and knowing that's what I value. And in addition to that, I did the DISC assessment, which I'd done before, and I kind of knew that about myself, but it was kind of reassuring to see that again. And then one of the other things I recently did was I put a survey out to people to kind of learn what they felt like my strengths were and what I could do with those strengths. And all of that has just been very helpful in me, kind of the self-discovery part of things and understanding, number one, kind of confirming some things that I already knew, but getting me to be more confident in it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I've been at. And
Can we pause there for just a second? Because you've made some really good points that might not make as much sense to the audience. Shannon and I know exactly what you're talking about. So where Lisa came into her reinvention track just started where you guys are attending these free webinars. And we want you to come as often as you feel like you want to use this as a home base while you're reinventing or thinking about it. Because you thought about it for a long time, Lisa, right? I want to reiterate that we often leave our current employment long, well, long before we actually physically, we often leave it emotionally or intellectually because we're looking for that next thing. And that's really common. So some of you might contemplate right now, have I actually left the thing that I want to leave emotionally? Is a part of me already moving on? Have I left it intellectually? As a part of me already moving on? That might be why you're here. And then we have a DIY or DIY is it DIY, do it yourself. We have a DIY online course that Lisa opted for, which is very affordable. Shannon, you put the link down. I think it's about $49 a month for 6 months. And you can only go for 30 days at a time because it's pretty complex. Like if anybody knows my work, if you've gone through my book like Lisa has, I ask you to go deep, to be true, and you can't just read through it and flip a chapter and be done. You have to do the work to get the benefit. So the DIY course is lined out like that. And every 30 days, you complete a checklist and then you can go on to the next module. So we've really made it so it's instructional, it's self-paced, and you know exactly what you need to do to keep moving yourself forward. You attended that, and we have the option of you can work with me in a very affordable way by just meeting with me once a month and making sure that the DIY course is making sense to you. And sometimes we even have scholarships. So I'm talking about one of the most economical, easy, and self-paced, take longer time to do it. So you're not rushed. And that mode really fit you, Lisa. And I want to point that out. The way you learn and you go deep in your learning, that kind of combination really fit you. And it helped to have somebody on your side holding your hand when you needed it, which you didn't need very often, but also helping you with your mindset, right? And so I wanted to clarify that because some of you may be listening to Lisa, and now maybe this makes more sense as to how she approached it. Because even getting your foot in that water and making sure that you're doing something consistently can really be the challenge because you've been living your life in a pattern, and Lisa's just started breaking the pattern, but she had to break it in her own way. Anything you want to say about that, Lisa? I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, and actually that was something I was thinking about. I One of the things that I was going to talk about and I have noted here is that I even though I did that, I mean the do it yourself. One of the things that I struggled with was, and I want to always do things the way you're supposed to do them. And so I had to kind of reframe my own thought process about it because there was a point where I was thinking, oh my gosh, I'm behind on this because I'm supposed to be on module number 4, but I'm really only back at number 2. And part of me was like, well, I should just do it and then I could get it done. And then I really realized that's not going to help me. What I need to do is what I need to do and get through and do the things in the module that I'm currently in the sense of ready to go on. get that taken care of so that I can move on to the next step and have the progression work for me. Because if I skip ahead, it's not going to help, because I'm just going to be, there's going to be something I missed. And that took me a little while to like really understand and be okay with. But once I realized that, it was like, oh, okay, now I can, when I'm at the point where there's sometimes where I was stuck, and oftentimes I would contact Lynn at that point and be like, okay, this is what I'm doing, this is what I think I should do, and this is what I'm doing, and hopefully that'll be the right thing.
Yeah.
um, and you've heard me say the right thing a couple times, and one of the things I do want to say is that Lynn's trying to get me to realize, and I'm almost there, that there's no one right way. There's no one right way. There can be multiple right ways, and it doesn't have to be just the thing that you are doing the right way. So
Yeah.
if that makes any sense.
It does. And it's one of the things that I think it's really valuable that you brought that up, Lisa, and reiterated that, because it's one of the things that when we were talking and preparing for today, that we both nodded our heads and said, some of you may also be feeling like there's one right way to reinvent. And I will tell you, as many times as I've reinvented my career, like I went from thinking I was going to be an attorney in college and turning into a school teacher. And I went from being a school teacher to an educational consultant. And I went from an educational consultant to writing and developing curriculum for Franklin Covey. Then I went from that to being an associate director in a project management office as a coach and a mentor to project managers. And then I was asked to be director of innovation, associate or the director of innovation of Franklin Covey coaching. And then I created Soul Salt. So you can see, there are the seven working identities. There was no one way that I did those seven different uh, reinventions. So everybody has a unique way. There are certain strategies and tools that could be consistent, but you'll find your path, especially if we could give you some tools and some methods, you'll find a path that's unique to you. And you get to decide what is the right path for you. It's not about right or wrong, it's what's real for you. Would you agree with that, Lisa?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What's more, I feel like it's like learning what's authentic to you is what's important. And doing a lot of these exercises that are in the book and some of the things that you suggested to do, one of which was, well, first of all, the the idea of multiple possible selves. I believe that's in the working identity book that you recommend.
It is, yes.
And 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 the idea of that, initially I had a little challenge because I was like trying to figure out how I could be more than one person at a time, in a way. And then I actually thought back and I was like, well, wait a minute. When I was in high school, I was a soccer player. I was a student. I was a mentor to younger kids. I belonged to a couple of different organizations, and I realized that in and of itself was me being multiple selves. And so there's no reason I can't do that now and focus in that. And I was struggling thinking I couldn't do more than one focus at a time. And I realized that I've done that. I've done than one focus at a time before. So therefore I can do that now. And so that was kind of just a weird revelation that I had. And then the other thing that Lynn, you introduced me to was the concept of immunity to change. And
Mhm.
I can't remember, I think the name of the person who was kind of introduced that to you. Was it Lisa?
Lisa Leahy, yeah, she was coaching Brene Brown at the time, and she works with Robert Keegan out of Harvard. So yeah, yes, those are the names. Yeah.
Okay. And so what I got out of that was a couple things. Well, the main thing really is the concept of reframing limiting beliefs. And I just thought it might be valuable to the people listening to give an example of one of the times or one of the limiting beliefs that I reframed. So if that's okay, I'll do that.
No, please do that. Please do that. I think that would be really super helpful because just let me give a quick overview. I went to Boston a year ago and studied with Keegan and Leahy after I had listened to Leahy coaching Brene Brown. And I recognized that we all have a built-in immunity to change. So one of the things that Lisa had to get over, that some of you have to get over, is this: your habits are keeping you in a static pattern unless you break them. And that includes beliefs. For instance, we find that you can line up 10 people who've just been diagnosed with heart problems and that they're going to die if they don't change some of their habits. And then the doctor shows them the habits and tells them about it, and they know they're going to die if they don't change. 7 out of 10 pass away. 7 out of 10. These people are not sloths. They're not lazy. They just have this immunity to change build up. So if you are fighting that thing about when do I make the change is scary, you have that same immunity to change when it comes to career reinvention. And that's what Lisa's talking about. And so, Lisa, talk about the beliefs that were kind of underpinning your immunity change. Go there. I think that's a great place to share.
So one of the assumptions that I had was that, well, the unknown is so scary, so it's easier to do what I know. Why change if it's going to be too scary to change, kind of thought process. And one of the ways I reframed that was to think about how things would be without change. I would stay stuck, and that was kind of where I was when I first started this. And I don't like being stuck, and the only way to get unstuck is to try new things. And then in addition to that, I thought, you know what? There have been times in my life where I resisted change and I did something anyway, whether it was force or something I chose to do. And those times were all pivotal moments in my life where I actually remember the fact that I did them made me realize I was strong and could do new things and be capable of new things. And so it opened, having that thought process and reframing it made me realize the change really isn't scary.
And you worked hard on that exercise. I
Yeah.
was so impressed. You took time, you went deep, you really went to ground zero and came up with things that were holding you back. And then you were so willing and courageous to look at them and challenge them and say, you might be a false assumption. That's what a false belief is an assumption. So good for you that you took that exercise so seriously because it paid you dividends, didn't it?
Yeah. And I mean, to me, that was one of the biggest things. And I felt like that's the biggest wall, in essence, that was holding me back from doing anything new. And all those other assumptions that I'm working on.
Yeah, I wonder if we can pause. If you're listening and you can relate to this, go ahead and put in chat if you're willing. Maybe a belief or assumption that you think is holding you back. Maybe, and a common one that I hear is people saying, I kind of have golden handcuffs. I don't think I can earn as much in this next thing I want to do than where I am. And I had that. But I can tell you, I left a director of innovation at Franklin Covey, coaching, and I started after about 18 months, I was earning as much in a quarter as I did in a year back in the corporate setting. So there was a false belief that I had too, that maybe I won't be able to make what I need to and want to in this new gig. And I proved that. I had an assumption and I was willing to challenge it. So if you have a belief or an assumption, go to chat. We'd love to hear what you are battling with too. Lisa, where do you want to go next?
I think there was a quote from the Working Identity book that I wanted to share.
Please, please.
Pull it up here.
Akbar, thanks for sharing that. Yes. You don't want to screw it up for sure. Good one. Way to fair. Yeah. And what's the quote? Oh, what guilt driven. Yeah. Oh my gosh, Haley, that's a big one too. Hurt people, leave people behind. They'll miss you. Yeah. Okay, Lisa, go ahead.
So this is from, actually, in the conclusion. I feel like it kind of conclude or gives like a reference to all that this book is about, really. But it talks about, just to summarize before I read this, creating small experiments to learn about your possible selves and where you might want to go, to find out your true self and how you want to move forward. And I'm just going to read this and we can comment on it.
Okay.
Even when taking our time seems unproductive, it's hardly so. We are moving away from outdated images of what we ought to be, of meeting expectations or pleasing others, and moving towards greater self-direction. The reinvention process challenges us to redefine ourselves. But contrary to popular belief, working our identities is not an exercise in abstraction or introspection. It's a messy trial and error process of learning by doing, in which experience in here and now, not the distant past, helps evolve our ideas about what is plausible and desirable. Only by our actions do we learn who we want to become, how best to travel, and what else we'll need to change to ease the way. So I feel like that's a good synopsis of that whole process, really.
It is.
And what stands out to me in that is one of the things also that I have struggled with is feeling like I should do. I'm a kind of a people pleaser, and I like to make people happy. And so I often will do what other people think is the right thing for me to do, and I really even believe sometimes the path that I've taken is one I want to take, but it was driven by what other people thought I should do, not necessarily what I love to do.
Well, there are two things there that I just took notes on that. So I'd love to comment on those because I think that's a brilliant quote and a nice commentary on your side. And I'm going to tie it to what you said earlier. There's a point in my book, and Shannon just put the link in the book. If you don't have the book, the Soul Salt book, it's a great way to start reinvention because it shows you what you bring to the table. It reveals you to you and the assets that you have that you can lean into, use, and leverage when you are going to reinvent. Because what we forget is that there are many possibilities within each of us. So, to this quote, in order to find them, it's like going to a smorgasbord. I don't know if you've been to Chuckarama or some other smorgasbord, and some people hate them and some people love them and some people are, yeah, about them. You sometimes see things that you probably wouldn't have tried before. When we reinvent, we have to act, like Lisa said. We have to get these micro experiments and take a nibble, a bite-sized chunk, and say, how does that feel? What am I thinking when I'm there? How does that experience inform me? We don't reinvent with one big flight across the gap and land on the other side. We do it by experimenting. If you want to do it correctly so that you last the distance in the next thing that you land on and you don't have to reinvent 6 months later, you you periodically create small experiments, which we've ingrained in our methodology in the DIY course. And you bite-size chunk your way to understanding what the action tells you about who you are, what you're interested in, and how it feels to be in that new position. So there are no surprises when you finally reinvent. You found that spot, you have that clarity, and clarity is far, far more important than one just big, bold leap. The clarity is just one footstep at a time. You're building a bridge to close the gap instead of a parachute. So I think that was important to bring that up. Every action informed you. And Lisa, you're doing that now, right? You're taking one step at a time with
Yeah,
experience.
I'm kind of right in that space.
Yeah. And that's the space that a lot of you want to get to, is so that you're tasting and sampling and learning what works and what doesn't. And you can see these limiting beliefs. I won't be enough if I'm doing or overdoing. Ooh, but your nervous system needs to slow down. That's really great. Currently finding new meaning is simply weeding the yard. Nice. Appreciating beauty. Nice. Connecting with friends. Yeah. Your nervous system probably needs that. And then Julia, I'm so glad you're with us again today. I'm transitioning out of corporate American building. Nice. Hardest part is moving out of the, oh yeah. Moving out of that functional freeze, student archetype. Yep. I don't know enough yet. Yeah. And so bite-sized chunk it, Julia. Maybe that's the nugget that helps you. Is you don't have to know everything. In fact, what we know in our nervous system, back to Breton's point, is that one bite-sized chunk informs you through a discovery. Discovery, and Lisa, I'd like to get your opinion on this. Discovery is greater and stronger in your reinvention process than knowing where you're going to land and knowing where you're going. being willing to discover what's the next right step, what's the next right move. That's all you need. That's far more powerful than knowing and having everything be totally clear. Do you want to comment on that, Lisa?
Yeah, I actually think that I also had that fear of like not knowing enough. But by doing these micro experiments and kind of testing the waters per se, you learn more about what you really want with, and you don't. And I've also learned that it's almost better not to feel like you need to know everything, because then you learn more along the way.
That's really well said. So, a question I just wrote down for you to answer is, would you explain one or two of your, well, first, let me set the stage. One of the things we did with Lisa is available to any of you that come through the Soul Salt programs. We ran a survey. Lisa just gave us her list, and she and I crafted the questions. And then we sent the survey out to her list, and we got the information back. The surveys that we do often give you ideas of these micro experiments, and then other exercises that we take you through. Some of the things through the book and some of the things in the DIY course will get you some ideas of micro experiments. Let's give them a flavor of what those look like, Lisa. What are some of your current micro experiments?
One of them is I'm reaching out to people in the area who are involved with the soccer community, because I'm really interested in looking into coaching more on the youth level. And so I'm reaching out to contacts in that area to find out where I might be able to be involved with coaching, maybe not be like a immediate, firsthand coach, but maybe assisting, or even just observing someone coaching to see if that is the area I want to go. I'm also looking into a personal training avenue. I'm looking into what areas are available in that. And that's right where I'm at right now. There's some other things that I've been playing around with, but I haven't really done much with. So
Yeah, and you have some variety in your ideas, right? Like, but the common thread is you've really found out that you want to support people and help them bring their best self forward,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So when we know the ethos of what you're working on, it's easier to find those little experiments, and that clarity comes in the process.
Yeah,
Um,
yes, I definitely have clarity in the fact that I really want to I want to provide, what do I want to say, mentorship, and be there to help, particularly young girls. That's kind of something that I thought of. Um, Build their self-esteem, learn new things, and get their confidence in life, and particularly through exercise and or soccer.
right, right. Thank you for that. We do have a question, and so be thinking, Lisa, if there's anything else that you want to bring up, and then I'll field the question and we can both answer it. So Christiana asked us about talking about that appropriate risk taking with the experiments, because there can be a fine line between stretching yourself and making a bad decision. Yeah, because we don't want bravado, Christiana. That's right. We want bravery, but you're not flinging yourself over a cliff. You're not going to do something that's going to harm you. And so that's why we suggest in our methodology to build a bridge and walk over it one plank at a time, or build it one plank at a time and then get ready to depart and walk over it, rather than hoping you packed an appropriate parachute and you jump off the cliff and hope it opens. Yeah. So as far as risk, and that will be different for every person, sometimes what you have to do is ask yourself, is it exciting? And does it scare me a little bit? And will it cause no harm to anyone? If you can answer those three and you feel like it's something that you get a yes on, you can do it. Risk can also be downsized by cutting it up into little chunks and not risking too much at one time. It's like tiny bets at the casino instead of a $5,000 chip on a roulette table or something, right? So, I'm not sure if that's answering your question, but it is, yeah, as you get going, there's a calculation. You want to pay attention to that. How would you answer that one, Lisa?
I'm not quite sure, but I think that, I mean, I what I could say is that, to jumping off the cliff in this scenario would mean you being like, oh, I'm just going to be a soccer coach. I'm going to quit my job and go do that. even if I hadn't attempted to coach before. That's kind of how I see that. I do think that I'm just a cautious person to begin with, so I probably would be more likely to take more of a slow approach anyway. So
Yeah, slow in this case, and that's where some of you are here. I know Akbar, you join us a lot from South London, and taking the slow train is often the thing that will get you there safer. Speed sometimes is a dangerous thing. Yeah. Hurting someone. Oh, that's a good one, Haley. Um, yeah, because I when I reinvented from school teaching, there would be some people would say, well, I hurt my students because I left mid-year. I had to leave. It was killing me physically to stay where I was. I was being bullied by a narcissistic teacher and her minions, her flying monkeys. And so were my children being hurt. And so one day I had to say, who's getting hurt most by being here? Because it's hurting me. It's also starting to hurt my kids because this teacher would corner my kids and tell them that they were bad students because they were in my classroom. She was really threatened by some of the innovative things I was doing. I'd earned an award for innovation. I was a multi-sensory teacher of the year, which was an award given by PTA. The parents voted the teachers into this. And so I had to look at that and go, the longer I stay here, the more these kids are bullied. I'm bullied. And so for me, I had to look at where the pain was. It was painful for them to let go of me. It was painful to go mid-year. I didn't go into another teaching contract. I went into consulting and so educational consulting. So you may have to define that on your own about even how much pain there is. I didn't say pain, but hurting other people. For instance, you could do something that's too bold, and then your family doesn't have food on the table. So hurting people could be taking a big risk because you need to get it to a new job. But I can tell you, it killed me. When I was leaving Franklin Covey, it was draining me at that point because I had so wanted to do Soul Salt that I felt sick some days when I left work because I knew this other thing I wanted to do and how big and bold and brilliant it was going to be in my life, and it was hurting me again. Um, you just get to your place where you understand where the pain is. Lisa, do you want to, and the harm would be, do you want to address that at all? And thanks for asking that, Haley.
I don't think I have anything in mind that I could
Okay. Do
add.
you have any, do you have anything that you want to add that we haven't added? And then we'll open it up for even more questions.
I think I covered the things I had planned to cover.
Yeah, good. I'm so glad because you're in the middle of it. Um, I would just say, be thinking about this question, Lisa. If there's one trait that you're leaning into the most to get through this messy middle of not knowing exactly what you're going to reinvent on and knowing that you are someday going to leave your employment, what are you leaning on to the most? That would be probably helpful. And while you're thinking about that answer, Julia or Christiana, Akbar, Haley, Celeste, Breton, if you have questions, go ahead and put them in chat right now or come off of mute and let us know.
Lynn, Celeste did make a comment right before Christiana. The comment was, I think my false belief is that I can't make big enough social change or can't find something that allows me to have a decent living while also making a positive difference in my community.
Ooh, that's a good one, Celeste. And I will tell you because I coach so many people through reinvention. I currently have a client that thought that too. In fact, she'd been falsely incarcerated by her husband, her ex-husband. She'd been accused, and it took her a couple of months before she got out of jail. And now she's created a nonprofit where she's earning more and making a huge difference on her community than she ever did before. And she was doing okay with her living. She was bringing home an above average income, and she's really doubled that now. So if you find the right place that fits you, where there's a great need, you're always going to be able to make a difference. And you may have to decide, is it 200 people that I make a difference with? 20 people? Is it 2,000? Is it 20,000? You sometimes have to make that definition, that metric of success on your own. And there's no right or wrong answer. But I will tell you, I see enough of my clients who reinvent, who make a social difference and impact, even if it's only on 200 people or 2,000 through their lifetime. It's building their community. And they're earning what they want to. Yeah. Lisa.
So actually the main thing that I don't know what I'm trying to say. I was thinking of is persistence and consistency
Yeah.
and just doing something, because that's when I'm in that mode where I feel really untethered and I'm like just kind of swimming in my own head. I come back to, okay, what can I do? What can I do today that's going to help me go in the right direction? And it might just be looking at notes from a previous webinar. It might be going to my dot tracker, which we haven't talked about, but just to see like, oh, I am progressing, I am doing things and adding things there, because I'm not always consistent doing that. But when I do, I realize where I am and where I can go. And so just always kind of revisiting things that remind me of the track that I'm on so that I can move to the next step.
Yeah, and that dot tracker, that's where my instructional design as a teacher comes in. I'm always looking for little tools that help somebody, and that is really fun to hear that that's helping you with the consistency, because that's a number one skill. Stay persistent and consistent, even if all you can do is think about it or read one thing for 5 minutes a day. Stick with it. You don't have to overkill it, but staying with it consistently. I like that. Akbar, South London, come talk to us.
Okay. Hi, Lynn. Hi, Shannon. Hi, Lisa, and hi, everyone. My question is regarding the my question is to Lisa. Did your values change whilst you were in the process of reinvention? That's my question.
I'm going to say no, they became more clear to me.
Yeah, that's a key piece to ask, Akbar. Thank you for that. When you go through my process and the process that you find in the book, or we have an online course, Shannon, we can give folks on the call a discount if you want to put a code in there. Our Be True course, where you really excavate your core values. I found a methodology through trial and error that really helps you dig so deep that when you get there, very few people question them. Now, if your environment shifts too much, you may get more clarity or you may add one, but usually when you get there, you're at the ground zero and it doesn't change you at the bedrock. And so I think your answer, Lisa, is one that's very common for people who've gone through our system, because it just asks you to excavate so deep that when you finish, you go, oh my gosh, these have always been with me. Yes, these are the right things. So yeah, we'll make a discount on that channel. We'll put it in the chat so you can get it.
Actually, I'm not going to put it in the chat. I'm going to send it in the follow-up email
Oh,
that will
good.
have it in there so then everybody can get it.
There you got it. You got it.
Yeah.
Any other questions before we wrap today? Well, your presence has been palpable. It really has. I know you're seeking, and Lisa, you bring that spirit with you. I think I want to reflect that back to you, that your spirit and your deliberate nature of how you go about your reinvention was delivered today. You guys can see she's a quiet, thoughtful individual, mindfully taking her time and doing it even in the face of her own doubts and beliefs that weren't serving her, being courageous to do that now, but not too fast. Um, you can do this. You can do this. And Lisa's a great example of that. And the spirit that you feel in the energy you feel today is really a lot about her tone and the fact that she stayed so grounded through the process and used the methods that we've given her. So, and thanks for who's ever on their iPad. Yes, the Be True course. It's a favorite of ours too.
Me, Lynn.
Hey, wow, Melody. Okay. Now I know who the iPad is, and I get to see you. I hope this
Yeah,
week.
sorry. Stephanie, hello. I can't wait to see you. Yeah, the Be True course was absolutely amazing. I did like a Toastmaster speech based about it and everything that Lynn and Soul Salt taught me, and how profound that one was. It's kind of paradigm shifting, again, like everything you do, but for such a short course, it was just packed and loaded with just nugget after nugget after nugget that gave so many epiphanies. And you could just see people when I was speaking going, oh my God, of course. Oh, duh. And this is a group of pretty intelligent, career driven, successful people that usually are in Toastmasters and stuff. And they were like, and we have not heard of some of these things before.
Well, Stephanie, I'm sorry, I apologize. I put your first name and your last name, Stephanie Milani.
Yeah.
Yes, and looks like you've recently been to Great Britain.
Yes, I know. And I had to just keep celebrating with my background here. But everything you've done. I mean, the career shifts I've had, the mindset shifts I've had, getting finally into my superpower. My biggest shift was getting out of all my pseudo strengths. I got opportunities all day long to spend time there, but in the end, that still isn't the most deep, fulfilling thing because I'm not doing my most highest, most aligned work on this planet using my greatest gifts. So making just that boom, that shift from like, okay, my life's good, but now it's feeling magical.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you for that. And yes, if you don't have my book or you want to go through the course, the course is online and available. And yeah, let's see who was asking that. Yes. And that will be in the email. Stephanie, thank you for that because the concept of pseudo strength and superpower is really important. And when you're reinventing and as Lisa's reinventing, stick to those superpowers. They're going to give you the greatest bang for the
Yeah,
buck.
someone was just asking what was the difference. And the difference is like you're really good, you have the skills, people recognize that you're totally capable, maybe more capable at most person at people than doing a specific task, but that's your pseudo strength because it's not what you totally love. It's not where your greatest gifts lie, and it doesn't really get you, that ultimate feeling of like, yes, I'm doing what I was put on earth to do. It's just like it's kind of, for me, always leaves you feeling still a little empty and depleted, a little bit of a flat tire. You're like, oh, I get a little bit of a dopamine hit because people recognize me and they know I'm good at it and they're grateful that I'm doing this task or whatever. But ultimately, I know it's not my calling, and therefore maybe it's just a time suck and it's just taking up that energy and time that it could be used to use my full superpower with my full vision towards my highest goals. And then, it's almost like all the chakras lining up. Then everything's like boom, 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 like the slot machine paying out, right? It's all sevens or it's all whatever. If you're using a pseudo strength, it's like 1 out of 2 sevens.
Yes, that's right. That's right. And the distinction, a lot of you who don't know that you're working from pseudo strength, but you do know that you're burning out. And that's why we're actually working on trying to trademark that because it's a discovery I've made in coaching people through reinvention.
Oh
So
God, please do.
yes.
For me, it's everything. I was like, I've been wasting my life on pseudo strengths. Ah, no more.
Um, well, thank you everybody for being here today. Thank you, Stephanie, for jumping on. Lisa, thank you for your time. Akbar, always for joining us so far across the pond. All of you that come on consistently, please know we're here next month as well. And if there's somebody in the audience that would like to be Lisa told us how she got interested in this, would like to be life coached, and you're not currently being coached by us, or maybe you are, but you want to be in the demonstration, let Shannon know. Reach out to info@soulsalt, let Shannon know, and we will do another live demo, and you can get some free coaching if you don't mind doing it in public. So that's where we are. And again, some of you have been remarking in chat. If you got into this webinar by an invitation and when we don't have your email and you want to get the recording and you want to get these links, make sure Shannon at info@soulsalt has your email and we'll make sure you get the recording and the ancillary pieces. So Lisa, thank you. Stephanie, thank you. Shannon, thank you. Akbar, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of your day. See you.
Thanks very much. Thanks.